Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Youngs Podcast. Hello to all our returning viewers. And for those who are new here, my name is Shay.
And I'm Dwight.
Okay, so we are on episode 3,
Three. Yes.
and I've been loving this whole podcast, like us talk thing. I don't know. I feel like everything's just kind of been like flowing naturally, and I'm loving
Yeah, it's
it.
been a ride so far,
Yeah,
and we got a lot more to go.
we do.
Yeah.
So let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I
Yes.
feel like something that we talked about is our spirituality.
Yes.
And I feel like that's such like it seems like nowadays it seems like it's such like this big thing that almost everyone is like wanting to like jump into like finding God or what they believe in and finding like their inner peace and stuff like that. And for me, I feel like I'm just now getting back to it because for those who don't know, I am what they call PK. My dad was a pastor. And so, growing up, church was everything, you know? It was Friday night service, it was Sunday morning, Sunday night service, like it was Wednesday night prayer. Like I don't know about what you experienced growing up, but church was like every day for me.
Yeah. So church wasn't every day for me, but I specifically remember having to go to church. It wasn't a choice. My mom would always send me with my aunt Barbara
Right.
every Sunday, and I had to go to Sunday school. And then after Sunday school, I had to go to the first service, and then sometimes second service.
It's the
So
second service that
yeah,
gets me. It's
yeah,
like, well, go Sunday morning, right? We're expected to get up, go to Sunday school on top of going to regular service.
yes,
Then you come home, you eat, and you have to go right back Sunday night.
right back.
You know what I mean? I mean, I understand like teach your children while they're young so when they grow old they will not depart from you.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like growing up, I feel like I had church so much. Like once I got, of age, I kind of was just like I just want to do what I want to do. Because growing up, like especially with my dad being a pastor, I couldn't paint my nails, I couldn't wear makeup, I couldn't dye my hair. Like
So you had all kinds of rules to follow and everything, right?
yes. So once I got older, I'm like, I'm gonna paint my nails. I'm gonna dye my hair. Like I've dyed my hair so many colors. I'm like, I'm gonna just do whatever I want. And it was to a point where I kind of was just like, I don't want to go to church. Like I want to wake up on a Sunday and not go to church. And I
Yeah.
kind of got into like that. I'm just gonna be not going to church because I'm an adult and I just want to rest on Sunday.
Right, right. I completely understand that. I got to the same phase myself. I didn't go quite as often as you did, but like I said, I went with my aunt Barbara, and then I went with my aunt niece, and I went with my grandmother,
Yeah.
and we had to go, and typically it would just be me and my cousin, and he would act up in church and get beatings and everything
Mhm.
else, and I would just sit there. But it was just, as a kid, it was just, I don't want to say excruciating, but it was really, really
Painful.
painful just because you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't grow up in, a household that was just, covered by God
Yeah.
in that sense.
Yeah.
So it was just different for me. It was like, all right, Sunday I'm ready to go and do stuff I know nothing about and hear stuff I know nothing about
Yeah.
and see this man sweating,
Yeah.
behind the pulpit or whatever, and I just didn't
Yeah.
understand anything that was going on. So
Yeah.
it was a little different, but for you, I would imagine you had a lot of involvement in your dad's
I
church as
feel
well.
like for me, like growing up, it was like church like nonstop, nonstop, nonstop. Because, my dad was a pastor, but he was a pastor of his own church. And I feel like that come with like so many different roles that like we had to play as his children.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
like one of my sisters, she played the drums, so she would play the drums for my dad's church. And then like sometimes we would have like praise and worship people, and then if they was unavailable, like my dad would make us go up there and literally sing on the praise and worship team in front of the whole church. And I'm just like, and then it was that, and then on top of that, it was every church has a choir, so we had the adult choir and we had the youth choir, and then we had to have choir rehearsals. So it was like church, 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 and like I said, once I got older, I kind of was just like, I want to experience not going to church on Sundays and kind of just doing what I want to do on a
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah, and I give you your kudos for being involved in all that, even though it wasn't by choice, apparently.
Absolutely not.
But for me, just having the one Easter piece
Hmm.
a year on Easter Sunday was, I don't know, it was so nerve wracking. I was so
Yeah.
nervous. I couldn't
I
imagine getting
mean,
up
come
singing in
on.
front of people at
Everyone
church and
knows
everything.
like Easter, it's like that's when everyone wears their best dress and you have the nice like every like nice color. You got the socks with the little ruffles on it. You got your Sunday's best for Easter.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean? That's when you're
Definitely.
getting your hair done, you're getting your haircuts, and just like the
Yeah.
nicest of the nicest outfit because you just knew Sally Mae was gonna come to church and her kids was gonna be dressed to the T. It was
Hmm.
like it almost seems like to me sometimes like growing up, Easter was like the first ladies or like the ladies of the church like competition. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
who's gonna wear the most lightest color? Whose family's gonna be like
The most of them there.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
who's gonna fill the most pews? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course, Easter and Mother's Day.
Yeah,
The two
like
biggest
who got
days,
all
it
their
seemed like.
kids
Yeah.
on Mother's Day?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So, question: how do you think like, because obviously like our experiences were different growing up, but they were kind of similar when it comes to that.
Yes.
So, do you think like I guess trying to instill a belief, and our belief here is God. Um, do you think like parents trying to like really force that on their kids at a young age, do you think that helps or damage a kid?
Well, I don't think getting closer to God at any age would damage anyone.
Right.
You know, I just think that we have to be mindful of the intellectual ability of the person that we're introducing to God and how we're introducing them.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And because I know how I felt when I was a kid, because I had no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think now with our children, you know, DJ obviously isn't old enough
Mhm.
to receive God in that particular way.
Yeah.
Um, he can be around it, he just can't receive it in that particular way.
Yeah.
But Jordan is old enough to receive it,
Yeah, she
and
understands a lot.
yeah, and the way that we are introducing Jordan to that, I think it's the way where she can actually enjoy herself and
Mhm.
get closer to God at the same time without it being such a drag to go because
Yeah.
she doesn't know what's going on and she
Yeah.
doesn't understand it. So it's less of an adult environment and more
Mhm.
of a everyone environment. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me growing up, I didn't understand like what was being I guess preached and kind of like nailed into our heads. And it wasn't until I got older and I started to like really experience God for myself and then I'm like, oh, okay, well that's what my dad used to tell me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
growing up, it was kind of like you knew right from wrong, but you really didn't know what right from wrong is because you never really had the experience, and I feel like growing up, it was always, you know, I did this and I made this mistake, so I don't want my family or my kids to do it. But at the same time, I feel like if it wasn't for my dad or my mom kind of like instilling like those beliefs in God in me, I don't think it would have been so easy for me to go back now that I'm
Right.
like an adult. And, Dwight and I, when we both got together, we weren't going to church. I mean, we may
No.
have gone, once or twice or whatever, but it was
Yeah.
just no consistency with it.
Mhm.
And I feel like, and, you and I getting together, we kind of decided, we had a conversation and we really wanted to just find like that peace that we know would come from, a higher power.
Yeah.
And, we've endured a lot throughout our relationship. And, just making that step, I feel like it's just been so amazing. And it's kind of like at least for me in my mind, just going through like the services and things like that. And as an adult, being able to listen to a sermon and be like, oh, well, I can relate that to my life. That's major for me because, growing up, I'm sitting in church and I don't know what I'm listening to.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So be able to do that now is kind of like I'm grateful that I was raised in a church-based home because I don't know really where I would be at even mentally, if someone was to be like, "Well, you should go to church," because I wouldn't even know where to start.
Right. Yeah. I think you and I got to a point where we knew that we couldn't do it by ourselves,
Mhm.
and we knew that we needed God to guide us, to help us, to see us through everything, and we just needed to really lean on Him.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the part that really got us going back,
Mhm.
you know, back to where the roots were, where we came from. And although my consistency wasn't as great as yours growing up,
Mhm.
I still had to go,
Mhm.
and I say had to go, but now it's like
It's almost like we're waiting for
we're
Sunday.
waiting for Sunday.
You know
So
what
it's
I
a little
mean?
bit different. Like now it's like, okay, we're going.
Yeah.
Like we must go because we want to go.
And it's like, for me, it's almost like, it's like what I'm waiting for. Like, for example, this past week, I feel like it was very challenging to me, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I've been battling with a lot of things,
Yeah.
just, and, I find myself like waiting, like, okay, waiting for Sunday, waiting for Sunday, waiting for Sunday, because I know, all right, I'm going to go into this church, and the person that I believe in, I'm going to be able to just let all this, just kind of just release it and let it go. And it,
Yes.
to me, being an adult and finally having that understanding of, you know, God,
Spirituality.
yeah, just God, and also for me experiencing things that I've had to gone through or go through, and realizing like I wouldn't have been able to get through this if it wasn't for God, or just that higher power, or having that faith. It kind of
Yeah.
just makes you look at things a lot differently when you are battling maybe with anxiety or depression and stuff like that. Because it's just like, I'm going to give it to God.
Yeah.
And, they always, used to say to me growing up, He may not come when you want to, but He's always on time. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
And a
Definitely.
lot of times you're looking like, God, where are you?
Yes. Calling on him and calling on him. You're like, where are you at?
Do you think that since we decided to, go back into church, and we've been very consistent with it, do you feel like that has given you like a new look on life, or do you feel like it's like something that's been beneficial, or something you wish you would have done sooner, or like what do you feel like your take is on it since we've jumped back into it? I guess you could say, because we're also going to a different kind of church than what we were brought up into.
Yes. So to just address your first question,
Hmm.
I think it's been really, really, really beneficial for me. I think that all the trials and tribulations that I've gone through, that we've gone through,
Hmm.
whether it been, you know, in the past, a couple years ago, or recently, or what have you, I don't think we could have got through any of it
No,
without God.
I don't think
We
so.
could not have got through any of it without having that faith
Hmm.
that He's going to pull us through, and just giving it all to Him, even though it's difficult to do that at
Hmm.
times,
Hmm.
because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But as long as you have that faith, and I think we've had that, and we've just been leaning on Him. So I
Hmm.
think it's been extremely beneficial, for us in doing that. As far as it being a different church than our upbringing, it's totally different.
Hmm.
So Shay and I, and Jordan and DJ, we attend United Church,
Woo woo.
and yeah, it's been great. The pastor
Hmm.
there is great, Pastor Kenneth Wagner.
Kenneth Wagner.
He does a phenomenal job. Him
Yeah,
and his staff. So we really appreciate them, because they've actually made that a home for us.
absolutely.
So just a little bit of backstory on that. So initially, Shay and I weren't going to that church. That church has been in existence for about 8 years,
Hmm.
and they had a location that was near our home. So what I was doing was working special duty almost every Sunday,
Hmm.
you know, and really it was the easy duties, but working special duty every Sunday for both experiences, which is both
Hmm.
services,
Hmm.
and never actually attended at all. And Shay would stop by every once in a while and see me there working, special duty. And I think it was like a 4 or 5 hour special duty.
Hmm.
And then that'd be it. So then one day we just decided, well, let's just try it. Let's just go to this church.
Yeah,
And I think ever since that,
we've literally gone every Sunday,
we've literally gone every Sunday. And
and
I
a
no
couple
longer
first Wednesdays.
Yeah, and so first Wednesdays as well. So every first of the month they have service
Hmm.
on Wednesday. So every first Wednesday,
Hmm.
and so I haven't worked a special duty there since, and we've just gone and attended,
Yeah,
every single time. It's been great.
it's been phenomenal. I feel like it's been the complete opposite of what I've, endured growing up. Like growing up, we're used to like the pastor preaching for like 3 hours, or you come in and everyone has the hymns and things like that. So it's really been different, but it's been refreshing. And I genuinely feel like since we've begun to go to that church, I feel like it's definitely changed our views in such a positive way. And I feel like it's just opened us up to a different capacity, because the way that I feel like the pastor delivers his message, it's always in a sense of like, oh wow, I can relate to that,
Yes,
or oh
yes,
wow, like I can understand what he's saying. It's not like a bunch of big huge Bible words that you don't know, you know what I mean, or a pastor randomly stopping and speaking in tongues. Not saying that there's anything wrong with those pastors that have that style, but not everyone's style is made for everyone.
yeah,
And I feel like we've, and you could disagree, but I feel like we finally found a place where I'm like, I feel comfortable in, expressing my love for God and not being judged, because I know the person next to me is just as happy,
yeah,
to be able to be here. And, every time we walk in the doors, no matter how heavy you may feel, it's like you're overcome with like this joy and this peace, and it's just
yeah,
a strange feeling, and it's such a great feeling because you have these strangers that just like, good morning, they're just so filled with just like this joy, and it's just like you can't help but to take that joy on.
it's definitely contagious.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's like a lot of times I feel like I've walked in there and I've been so heavy, just emotionally and mentally, and I could feel myself in service or in worship, and I could just feel myself being different.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So then when I'm leaving, I'm just like that's exactly what I needed, and it's such a strange feeling, but it's so refreshing. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I think for us as a whole, you and
Hmm.
I think that it's really drawing us closer to God, but also drawing us closer to God while drawing us closer together.
Hmm.
I think we've been on this journey together, the spiritual journey that we're on. I think it's together, and to me, that's very important. That's very important because I think in a relationship, if one person is so far ahead of the other person spiritually, you kind of lose touch with each other. You kind of lose track of each other. You're not on the same path when it comes to God, and I think that's really important to be on the same path when it comes to God because God is everywhere and everything, and
Absolutely.
in everything you do. And if you have one person doing the total opposite of what God may want,
Hmm.
and the other one trying to do exactly what they're supposed to do by
Hmm.
God, I, I just don't think it's going to mix very well.
Mm-mm. And I think, just by, you two kind of like saying, okay, this is something that we're going to do. This is something I want to do together. I feel like, in a sense, it's almost like you guys are like standing to God, like almost in a marriage, like you're standing before God
Yeah,
and you're like committing yourself,
yeah,
but you're also holding yourself accountable to know, okay, I'm taking this journey on with my partner, but I'm also committing myself to God and being held accountable. You know what I mean? And not saying that everyone's going to get it perfect,
yeah,
because that's like not real,
right,
but
yeah,
I feel like we've gotten closer. I feel like it's kind of given us a new level of understanding, so to say, and like a new level of like patience sometimes with
yeah,
each other.
yeah,
Um, and also like I feel like we talked about a few minutes ago, the fact that we look forward to going on Sunday is kind of like we have those outlets throughout the week, but on Sunday we really have that outlet.
yes,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's like that.
absolutely,
It's like that reset. Like, okay, we may have maybe disagreed on this day or whatever the case may be, but we're gonna go in here together, worship God together, and believe that God's gonna fix it for us, and leave. closer than what we may have gone there, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
Oh,
You know what I
definitely makes
mean?
sense. I agree with you 100%. I think with us, you know, we come out of previous relationships
Mhm.
um, from years ago, and I know how I was at
Mhm.
that time, and um, I'm pretty sure you were probably the same way,
Mhm.
where with the previous partner, you didn't have that spiritual connection, therefore, you weren't pursuing God together.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that make sense? Like you
Yeah.
weren't pursuing God together. You weren't, attending services. You weren't,
Mhm.
living
Yeah, none of that was transpiring
in
in
that way.
my previous situation. Like church was never a conversation, so to say. Even
Yeah.
knowing that like that was my upbringing and knowing that's something that I believed in, it was never a conversation. It wasn't like, okay, well, let's go to this church or let's try to go here or okay, it's Sunday, let's do something that, may have to do with like spirituality or something like that. It was literally never talked about.
Yeah. And to me, that's kind of a sign,
Mhm.
because I didn't feel that in my heart
Mhm.
previously. So I didn't want to open myself up to God in that way.
Mhm.
I didn't want to open myself up spiritually and pursue Him in that particular relationship. And I just didn't want to because it just seemed like it was something else in me, Pastor. It just seemed like
Mhm.
it was something that was pulling me away from God.
Yeah.
And
But
you
it's
know,
crazy because we both were in Milford, and
yeah,
United Church has been around. They literally are just celebrating 8 years of being in ministry.
yeah,
And we have been in Milford and we didn't know anything about United Church until, I mean, you knew about it because you were working it, but we never
yeah,
really knew about it until we got together and was like, let's try this together. And I'm like beyond happy that that's a decision we made, you know. Even on
yeah.
days when I get up and I'm like that exhausted, I'm just like, let's go to church.
And I completely agree with you because I feel the same way, and I think we
Mhm.
were that way this morning.
Yeah.
We were really, really tired this
Yeah.
morning, and still got up and got the kids together, and we still made the first
First
experience
service.
there,
Yeah.
and I think that was great. That
Yeah.
was great that we
So,
did that. We pushed through that. Just to clarify something for all the new viewers here, when I say work United Church special duty, it's just because I work in law enforcement, so it's like a paid job where we go and we
yeah.
we,
So
we work
United
it. So
Church is a huge, church, huge community, and they normally have two services, one early morning and one kind of late morning. And given the number of, traffic that they have coming in and out, they normally ask for the police department, to have an officer there to provide security, just for those first two services. It is paid, that's what they call special duty in his line of work. And so Dwight did that like every Sunday
yeah,
until we made the decision like we're just gonna go, um, and just have an experience for ourselves.
yeah,
And since then, he hasn't worked any special duties, and he refuses to work special duties because he wants to be the one sitting there and
yeah,
enjoying the experience. And I just want to give a shout out to United Church because it has been such a beautiful experience, and
yeah.
I
It
feel
really has.
like I have genuinely experienced God on another level, and I've always struggled with understanding and hearing the message
Yes,
because I feel like I would hear it, but I would leave and I'd be like, I don't even remember nothing they talked about because and now I'm like, I heard it, I understood it, I can relate to it, and I'm excited for next service.
definitely. And Shay and I, we speak about spirituality, and we speak about God, and that's because that's who we believe in.
Absolutely.
That doesn't take away from the rest of the viewers who may believe in another higher power or multiple higher powers. You know, whoever you deem as that higher power is what we're talking about. We're
Hmm.
talking about growing together, um, just under that higher power.
Yeah.
In our case, we're talking about God, and we're talking about our spirituality and our journey. And I'm glad that we've, I guess, come full circle. Had to go, had to go, had to go. I'm not going no more. Basically that's what it was. And then it's like, no, I want to go.
Yeah.
I want to go. I want to go. I want to go. And I want to go with, this beautiful person that's sitting next to me. And I want to go because I want to be closer to her. I want to be closer to God. And I want us to be together when that happens.
Yeah, and I think another reason why, United Church has been such a blessing, um, is because they also have a section called United Kids. So like they have like this separate hallway, I guess you could say, where they
Yeah.
have rooms that are broken into sections, and you can, leave your kids in there with trusted individuals, and you go inside of like the auditorium or whatever you call it, and you enjoy your experience without the distraction of your kids. And it's not like they're just sitting there playing with the kids, like they're also teaching the kids about God, but on a kid's level. And I feel
Right.
like that has been truly amazing, because when we first had our son, it was a little bit of a struggle to kind of focus during service because he was fidgety
Yeah.
and we
We
had
would
to
take him
feed
into the
him.
service.
hmm
Yeah.
but once he got to that age where we can put him in United Kids, it's kind of been like amazing, because we know, okay, they're taking care of our kids, but they're also teaching them. And then mom and dad can get their spiritual refresher,
Yeah.
without any distractions. And I think that has been truly amazing. It's been so helpful. And
And so just like today, we take both kids. Jordan goes to her room. DJ goes to his room.
hmm
And they have everything set up. It's basically a child care center that is divided up in multiple rooms
yeah,
down the hallway, like Shay said. And they're divided up by age and grades. And it's just
yeah,
so organized and it's just great for the kids. And Jordan has fun every single time she goes.
she loves it.
And she looks forward to going. And that's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. And she talks to us about what she learned ever
hmm
so often. And I
Yeah.
think that's very impactful, especially for a child her age, because we were that age once, and I don't think we could leave church and talk about anything that we learned.
No.
So,
No.
you
So
know,
my advice, I feel like my advice to the listeners or any parents or anyone that's thinking of, getting back into church or may feel that pull spiritually, my advice to you would be to take the leap and to take that, just listen to how you feel and take that leap of faith, because it's definitely not anything that you will regret.
yeah,
Um, you may lose friends along the way. You may,
may gain friends along
you
the
may
way.
gain friends, but just go into it with a clear mind. Don't have expectations, because when you put expectations on God, He blows you away every single time. And I feel like it is the best decision I've made in my life. And I'm not the best person. There's definitely things that I need to control, and I am definitely trying to work on and fix for the better of me and the better of my family. But I feel like I wouldn't have made as much progress as I have if it wasn't for me being in church, truthfully.
Yeah, and I feel the same way that Shay feels. I feel like I'm trying to be a different person. I'm obviously it's still a work in progress, but I'm trying to be a different person, and I think my prayers to God have helped me along this journey. And I've changed, or at least I've tried to change quite a few things about myself. And it feels so much better to have certain weights lifted off
Yeah.
of you, and you know that God is the one that's taking those weights, upon Himself. And I think when Shay and I first started this journey, I really didn't understand the previous conversations I may have had with some relatives who would talk about spirituality, who would talk about God. And there was a long period of time where I didn't really want to hear it just because I felt like my situation was just so bad that God kind of had abandoned me. And in dealing with so many different things and, you know, losing loved ones and stuff like that, you kind of get in that space. And you need God to kind of help you and pull you out of that space. And I remember, for a few examples, I remember talking to my dad. And every time I would talk to my dad when I was going through something a few years ago, and he would always tell me, pray about it.
Yeah. hmm
Pray about it, son. Give it to God. He won't steer you wrong. Just pray about it. And I've always had that kind of plan in the back of my mind,
Hmm.
constantly, especially when I'm about to make a decision that might be the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And I just think about what my dad said. I think about some of my aunts when they speak to me, when they spoke to me about God when I was still in that same space. My aunt niece would always talk about spirituality, would always talk about getting closer to God. And of course,
Hmm.
I wasn't really listening back then.
Yeah.
And I understand now.
Yeah.
My aunt Linda would say things about God. My aunt Vicky, my aunt Barbie, my aunt Yutzi would just call, randomly and talk about God.
Yeah. I feel like growing up, like just hearing someone say, pray about it, I didn't understand it because it wasn't until recently where I feel like I really knew what that meant or like what it was to even pray, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like I was the same way, but it was just like, you have moments where you're just like, well, if there's a God,
Yes.
why am I going through this?
Yes.
Or why am I feeling this? Or why did he take this person away? Like what did I do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they always tell you you're never supposed to question God, and I don't ever want to question God, but even with losing my daughter,
Yeah.
being in that dark space for such a long time, I'm just like, what did I do to you? Like where are you? Why? Like I just couldn't wrap my mind around it. I'm
Yeah.
just like, what the heck did I do for you to take my daughter away from me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And God has a plan for everything, as we know, and we may not understand it, but our story is already written for us before we're even born. Um,
Yeah.
but I just,
I think he saw you through, and he's still seeing you through that. That's
yeah,
for sure. I think that you and I becoming one, I think that was part of maybe his way of trying to heal you
hmm
and heal me at the same time because I feel like I really needed you, and I hope that you feel like you really needed me. But
yeah. I feel
I
like
just think
I definitely agree. I feel like we needed each other.
definitely,
I feel like when we met, we both were grieving and dealing with a lot of things personally, and I feel like when I met you, it kind of was like a time where I was questioning God because I'm just like, you took my daughter,
yeah,
and I was just in a real dark space, and I'm just like, well, you took my daughter away from me, so I don't even, you know what I mean? And then meeting you, it was just like that saying, God may not come when you want to, but He's always on time, and it's kind of like He was dangling you and was like, this is the little bit of hope, this is
yeah,
for you to go down that right path that I've been, trying to set you on. And they always say when you hear the voice of God speaking to you and trying to get you to go down one path. If you continue to go the opposite way, you're gonna, you know, endure storms and things like that on that bad road until you get on the right path that God is trying to get you on. And sometimes God has a funny way of telling you, you need to get on this path that I'm trying to put you on. And if you're not listening, He may take loved ones away from you. He
yeah,
may put you through the ringer just to let you know, I'm going to continue to let you go through this until you decide to be obedient. But because you're not being obedient, this
yeah,
is why you're going through those things. And then the minute you become obedient, things start to make sense.
yeah.
Not saying because you're obedient to God, your life is going to automatically be easy, because it's not, because there's something called spiritual warfare. But things do become lighter.
I agree. I agree. I think that things definitely become lighter. I feel like although our journeys were different,
Hmm.
and first off, I just thank God for seeing you through what you went through and still continue to give you the strength every day. And I hope that I'm able to also help you through God. And I just thank him for that because I couldn't imagine the strength that it takes for you to deal
Yeah,
with,
I
what you
commend
dealt with.
commend everyone, every female, every male, whatever your role is, if you've lost a child. Because in losing my daughter, like, that is a feeling that you don't even want to wish on your worst enemy. I promise you it's not. And every day is a battle. Even with me having a beautiful, healthy son and a daughter now, it's still a battle every day. It's something that you think about that goes through your mind every day because you think, well, if my daughter was here, what would be going on? Like,
Yeah.
my daughter would be this old and this, and this. But,
Yeah.
I just want to commend everyone out there that is still finding the strength to keep going. And you can look at me as an example
Yeah.
and know that it is possible to continue to live a life and know that God is real and He will see you through because there was some dark times.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just so thankful that God has, or that we have found our way back to God. Let me
Hmm.
say it like that. We found our way back to God, and our spirituality is strong. I think
Hmm.
it's stronger than it's ever been. And I don't know about you, but I can't wait to see what the future holds and how much stronger it can get.
Yeah, I am very excited for the future. I feel as though there's a lot of great things coming, and I just feel like just this pull,
Yeah.
on just like on a spiritual way of like God telling me certain things and kind of like preparing, me for certain things. So I'm definitely excited for the future. I'm excited to see what God has in store for us and our family. Um, and I'm open and I am fully willing and ready to receive whatever God has for us in whatever way that may take us.
Yeah,
But
definitely. But I encourage everyone to seek out whomever they deem is their higher power,
mhm,
whether it's God, whether it's someone else, something else, because it's a feeling like no other. And that faith, that hope
get you through.
will get you through. It will definitely get you through in your
Mhm.
darkest days and your darkest hours. And when you think there is just
When you,
no way, no
yeah,
way, no way this is going to turn around. There's no way out. This is the worst ever.
yeah. When
That
you
He will see you
think
through.
you're alone and like, there's no point of continuing, like there's always a reason to continue, you
Yes,
know, and God will see you through.
He will definitely see you
Or whatever you believe in, just believe in something. So I would also encourage everyone to find a church home. Find a home that is comfortable for you. Not that's comfortable for someone else or maybe something you believed in years ago. Find something that is comfortable for you. You know what I mean? And if it means trying a church or two, then try a church or two.
through.
But you will know when you get that feeling of being home. And I just thank God. That's all I can say. But I think,
We thank God, and we also thank United Church.
yes, thank you, United
Want
Church. To thank every individual that has talked to us, that has taken the time to stop and ask us, who we are. Have a good week. It's been truly life changing, attending this church. And like we said, we're excited for what the future holds. And
Definitely.
I like I said previously, if you're dealing with something, if you're feeling heavy, if you need a church home, find it. Find it, find it, find it. Because your life will change when you make that step.
Definitely. And I'm not sure if I thanked someone in my family earlier when I was thanking my aunts and stuff, but my aunt Barbie, she always would be uplifting, but it would be uplifting in a way through God.
Yeah.
She would always tell me to pray about things and, just different things that she would attempt to teach me, even if it was just over text or what
Hmm.
have you. So I appreciate that as well. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave her out.
Yeah.
But
And
thank
I
you, Cheryl,
want
again.
to shout out Aunt Niece. Hey, girl. I know you're watching this. But I want to say that because I feel as though since I met Aunt Niece has helped me understand God differently.
Yeah,
She's definitely helped me understand spiritual warfare. She's definitely helped me to understand that in giving your life to God, things do get hard before they get easy. So she's very, very, very into church, um, and she's an ordained minister.
Yes.
So I definitely want to give her a shout out and thank you for being, that spiritual guidance that I need at times. And I definitely appreciate, all the advice and, just help that you've given in that department. So thank you. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yes.
Um, we do want to thank everyone who has subscribed to our YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone who has followed our Instagram page. Again, don't forget to like this video, comment if you
Please.
would like to, hit the
Yes.
subscribe button because what is it, babe?
What is that?
It is free.
Yes, it is free. I knew that. Free.
And so, again, our Instagram is at the Youngs Podcast. It is always in the description down below. If you've already subscribed, tell your friend.
Yes.
Share it with a coworker.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the end,
We're signing off.
and it's the Youngs, and we're signing off. Peace.